I was going to post a video today, or a photo, or both, of the chrysalis that's in my backyard because it's beautiful. And this is like the third day now that they've been there. But then they kind of look the exact same as they did yesterday and the day before. So then I thought, well, maybe people are going to think, well, I've already seen this. But it got me to thinking about change. And this may or may not be new. The biggest symbol of transformation are butterflies, right? That's why I have them on my book covers, because there's nothing else that's so obvious that changes in such a short amount of time. And it changes unless something happens 100% of the time. This is what's going to happen. They go from the caterpillar. All they're doing is going around eating, looking for food, crawling around real slow. And then it gets to a certain point, they've had enough. Who knows what signals it for them. But they're not going to live that way anymore. And then they build the chrysalis, a cocoon. They attach onto somewhere and start spinning this thing and just go in the dark. And what I learned recently is that it's about 30 days that they're in this cocoon. They go in the dark. Absolutely everything in their entire structure is broken down. Even their heart, broken down to the littlest bits. And then this dark soup. And if you were to just look at this being at that moment, you would think, wow, what a sad existence. They're just in the dark, isolated from everybody. The life they had before was moving along. They were out there in the sunshine, eating food and crawling around. And now look at them. They're all broken down in this dark soup. But then what happens is they start the reframe, the physical reframe, which is where they take every single piece from the past and make it into something else. Something that they're going to use for their future life. And then, from the outside, this just looks like the exact same thing. Just the green chrysalis, or different colored chrysalis for different butterflies. But it just looks the exact same. Until the new being is fully formed and ready to come out again. Which is around 29, 30, 31 days. And then that outer chrysalis, it gets a little translucent. And then that new being squeezes out, and that's still not, nobody's out there celebrating like, wow, look at the great thing you did. Nobody even notices, except for us. But then it comes out and it has to squeeze out, and that last squeeze is, I read here and there, and I think there's even an old story about someone that tried to help a butterfly with that last squeeze and ended up dying, because that last squeeze is what gets all the water and the moisture out of their wings. And then when they're out, their wings solidify. I could be totally wrong about the dynamics of this. But when they're out, their wings totally solidify, and that's when they can fly. So if you help them out of that last squeeze, it actually cripples them. And their wings are going to be still that kind of deformed thing. Well, anyway, I really do think that any change in life, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all of the above, any change, it does take that. It takes the deciding first that you're just not going to live that way anymore. And then, hopefully, and then looking at everything you have, your entire inventory, everything that we earn wisdom, sometimes we don't realize it. We just kind of look at it like, well, that stunk. That was a lot of time. That was a waste of time. But there's some wisdom in there. And even if it's something we should have already known or we already learned before 14 times, maybe you needed enough different examples before you realized for sure that it's true. So that, the change, that taking everything that you've been through, everything you've learned, and applying that in a different way, with the focus on your future life. Your future life, what's the difference between the butterfly and the caterpillar? The butterfly doesn't have to just crawl around and eat all the time anymore. That's not their whole life. They can fly. Moving around is much easier, unless it's a storm. I don't think a storm's easy on a caterpillar either, so, that point's out the window. Well, anyway, your future life, if you say, you know what, I am done living that way that I did. Even if it's probably been all your life to this point. I'm done living that way. And take some time, and whether it's, with therapy, self-help workbooks, courses, whatever it is. Retreat if you can. I mean, we don't have the luxury to just be like a caterpillar and be like, later, Tater, for 30 days. You got the things to do, bills to pay. But you can commit to a certain amount of time every day, even if it's like 5 minutes. As long as that's focused and guided to your future, the life that you want to have happen, that's where it's going to go. That's where it's going to lead you. But you have to commit. I mean, butterflies don't go, you know what, actually, I kind of preferred crawling around and just eating milkweed all day, so I'm going to head back in the cocoon and change back. Like, no, you got to commit to, like, I am not living my life this way anymore. I'm going to have that new life. And then take some steps every day. Well, that's a generic statement. No, seriously, look at, anything, any kind of courses. I do have some. I'm not going to hawk them here because then that might diminish where people go, oh, we're just trying to sell something. No, I would love for you to take, I have 2 right now, but I would love for you to take one of my courses. But if it's not something that appeals to you, then I would love for you not to take it. You have to find something that really speaks to you. And maybe some specific change, Maybe the courses that I have, not applicable. But something that is. Something that you say, you know what, I don't want to live like that anymore. Maybe it's a people-pleasing thing where you're just tired of keeping your words silent in this pattern of, keeping your words silent, your needs and wants. And then other people, whether they're jerks or whether they just didn't know that you had the needs that you have because you didn't express them, what's the part of you that you're not going to live like that anymore? That's the thing you need to change. And then committing to changing it. And then from the outside, probably not going to look like, especially the first while. I don't know how long the caterpillar takes to break down. Maybe I'll Google that. Or if anyone knows, feel free to let me know. I don't know how long that breakdown stage is. I don't know how long the rebuilding stage is. Maybe the breakdown part is the part that takes the most time and seems, in the human world, that would be the part that seems like, gosh, all this for nothing. Because you're breaking down all this stuff that you thought was real or that, you thought was going to be life. And that breaking down then, once you have all the pieces, I would think building a foundation takes a while. Just like a house, building a foundation takes a while and it looks like nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, there's like a framework up and then there's walls up and then there's windows up and it's, it's all done. So maybe that breakdown part and the foundation part, figuring out what it is you actually want, maybe those are the things that take the longest. And then it's just a matter of, commitment, knowing it's going to happen and seeing it through. Maybe it's not 30 days. Maybe it's 100 days. Maybe it's the rest of your life. I don't think you'd be, completely stuck the rest of your life, but certain things take time. There was a study, all these courses came out, and it was like 21 days for this and that. And it said, 21 days is the amount of time it takes to change a habit. No, that's not true. That was one of the times. There was a study, and I think it was like one study, where the average time, on the high end, it was like to change certain habits. I don't remember what the habits were. The average time was between 21 days and 99 days or something like that. And so the mean in the middle was like more around 66. Like that's when it solidifies about certain things that this is going to be the new way. But, if it's a physical change, and it's a big physical change, and it's been your whole life up to this point, I don't think it's going to change in 21 or even 66 days. I think it's going to change in a little bit in a few months, a little bit more in a couple of years, and then it'll be permanent, but as long as you keep up with everything. Or like mental change. It's not that, childhood was such a long time ago. I was talking to one of my neighbors yesterday who's in his 80s, very smart man, and he said he still has stuff come up from childhood. And sometimes we feel like we're guilted or shamed about that. That, it's such a long time ago, why don't you just grow up? It's not about growing up, and it's not about how long ago it was. That was your programming, So even like looking back at your caterpillar stuff and saying, well, I was taught that I should take blame all the time. Everything was my fault. And that's not true. That's part of the breakdown. It's not saying, my parents need to go back and fix that from, 40, 50, 70 years ago. It's not saying that. It's identifying what it is that you need to change. because we talk about boundaries and standards and stuff. But if in you it's programmed that whatever happens, whatever's in your orbit, if it's a problem, somehow it's your fault and you need to fix it, then it doesn't matter what the other people do. The other people would have to outright reject what you're doing. But if if someone's like, oh my gosh, I have this, and you jump in with your old programming and you're like, I'll fix that, I'll do that, why would they say no? Especially if it's something that they're feeling, weak or vulnerable, and they think like in that moment they need help, and you're like, I'll take care of the whole thing. That is going to be a relief to them, right? But if it's a big strain on you, and if it's something that you could encourage or you could help, but you can't actually fix the whole thing, then you attempting to do so is only going to lead to you resenting them later and them not understanding why did you do it in the first place. So anyway, that's one example, but it's probably a big one. And yeah, so change, commitments, probably not going to look like anything's changed on the outside for the longest time, but then it will, and it'll be lifelong. And people might say that, oh, that person just changed overnight. No, it just looks like that. But you'll know. Any thoughts, comments? I'd love to hear them. Comment below. I would love to chat with you a little more on things. Maybe you had a big change in your life that did take a while. You'd like to share that other people could be inspired by. I'm out walking every day. Because I was doing that for a while, then I didn't. And oh yeah, the last point that I had about change. If it's too much all at once, then you can still decide to do it whenever you can and really look for opportunities when you have time, like walking in the Florida 95-degree heat in the middle of the day, not a good time. But I can go in the morning for a little bit and I can go in the evening for a little bit. And then on the evening one, I get a chance also to come on here and say hello to you, which is wonderful. And that's how we're doing it. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and I look forward to reading what you would like to chit chat about. Bye.